But let's get to some news. Let's get to some headlines to, keep everybody in the loop with what's going on in the world, because there's some crazy stuff going on in the world. Now, I don't know if you guys remember this whole story that kind of took center stage last year with Ruby Franke, the YouTuber Ruby Franke. So she was really big on YouTube. She like a family vlogger type YouTuber. Gave a lot of, family advice, a lot of parenting advice. But, people notice like, yo, she's kind of harsh. She's kind of abusive with her children. And then, one thing led to another. They looked into it and they realized that she was indeed abusive to her children, locking them up in rooms for X amount of days, not feeding them dinner, really just denying them the basic needs. And essentially it ended up that she got convicted with a whole bunch of counts of child abuse. And she's going to do anywhere from like 10 to 30 years in prison alongside her family therapist. Now, the news that is coming out today is a story from her daughter, and this is an absolutely crazy story on so many different levels. But, her daughter, who, obviously experienced it and was there firsthand, she has a new book that she put out kind of detailing her experiences, and things have gotten quite a bit crazier. And I didn't even really think it was possible to get any crazier than, they have already gotten. But it looks like we've gotten to that point. Now, an interview dropped today on Good Morning America. It dropped just a few hours ago. It says Ruby Franke's daughter speaks out about mom's arrest and her abusive childhood. You also got to remember too, this is a woman, I believe is a Mormon family, so they do subscribe to, Mormon faith. And that was another layer of this story that was very interesting to a lot of people, especially, from outsiders looking in. They were very curious as to how somebody of faith, quote unquote, even though it's the wrong faith, but it's how somebody of faith could, essentially do this to their children. And now it's coming out in this interview that essentially Ruby Franke, who was very open and vocal about her dissatisfaction of the LGBTQ community, that her herself might have actually been on the DL while this was all happening. Let's get to the video.
Now we're going to go to our GMA exclusive with the eldest daughter of mom influencer Ruby Franke, who pleaded guilty to child abuse last year. Sherry Franke is now sharing her story in a new book, including allegations about her mom's relationship with her former mentor. She spoke with Eva Pilgrim, and good morning again to you, Eva.
Good morning again, Michael. Sherry Franke, so much of her life has been out there in the headlines, but now she's taking back her story, writing a memoir, carefully sharing her experience.
She was the Utah mommy influencer known for her no-nonsense parenting.
I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
Ruby Franke sharing her life at home with 6 children.
That's pretty crazy. I'm only going to say this one more time, and you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner. That's just a basic right. I got to eat, mom. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of crazy. And the fact that these people are out of their mind. The fact that she would take a camera, record herself, and then post that. I'm glad she did. And yeah, somebody said it in the chat, my heart breaks for the children. Mine does too. But hey, I'm glad that she took it upon herself to expose herself, because that's crazy.
To her more than 2 million followers on YouTube.
Today we are starting off our day the way we do every day.
But Ruby's social media empire quickly unraveled when her youngest son escaped in August of 2023. This chilling 911 call leading to her arrest.
I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he just came from a neighbor's house. He's emaciated. He's got tape around his legs.
Now, for the first time, Ruby's eldest daughter, Sherry, is telling her story in a new memoir, The House of My Mother.
Sometimes I'll see myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh my gosh, I look like her or I sound like her. But I don't want to be anything like her.
Sherry, who says she was cut off from the family when she left for college, detailing abuse she says her mother inflicted throughout her childhood.
When I was younger, around 5, 6, Ruby was really physical, like, you know, whether it was like a slap to the lip or a slap to the cheek. When I would practice the piano, you know, like her hand would slam, and like it was really scary. And honestly, when she met Jodi, that kind of stopped.
Enter Jodi Hildebrandt, a Mormon family counselor and mentor to Ruby.
Could you feel the shift when Jodi came into your family's life?
I could, for sure. I could feel the shift. I was like, oh, Jodi, like, you know, I don't like her, but maybe this is one good thing that's come from it, is she's not yelling, she's not hitting us anymore. But it did become more psychological, and in a way that was more damaging to me.
In 2022, Hildebrandt moved into the Franke home. The children's father, Kevin, moved out shortly after.
I certainly got weird vibes from Jodi and Ruby.
Wait.
I don't think it's normal.
Wait, what did she say? Who moved in where?
The Franke home. The children's father, Kevin.
Me.
In 2022, Hildebrandt moved into the Franke home. The children's father, Kevin, moved out shortly after.
I certainly got weird vibes from Jodi and Ruby. I don't think it's normal at all that a therapist would move into her client's home. I was moving out to college, and I hadn't even like left the house yet, and she is in my room and in my bed.
What was that relationship between the two of them?
Ruby tried to be secretive about it, and so like I don't know all the details, but just the vibes that I was getting was that something was strange between them.
In the book, Sherry writing about messages between the two she says she found on Ruby's laptop after their arrest. That confirmed for me the truth about the nature of her relationship with Jodi and how it had spilled over into the physical. Ruby expressing her frustration about having to cater to Jodi's needs for physical affection without getting anything in return.
Were they romantically involved with each other?
I never saw anything specific about that.
Do you think they were more than friends?
I'm not sure.
ABC News reached out to Ruby and Hildebrandt for comment, but did not hear back. Both women pleaded guilty to 4 counts of child abuse against the 2 youngest children, but not Sherry, and will serve at least 4 years in prison.
To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you are part of me.
Did you believe that she was apologetic?
I think that she's as sorry as she can be. What she has done is so bad that I don't think her mind allows her to kind of fully comprehend the guilt of all that. And so I think that she probably genuinely believed everything she said. I don't believe it, though.
Sherry now trying to turn her pain into purpose.
There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger.
Advocating to restrict family vlogging with children too young to consent.
Is there anything that you would...
That's a really interesting statement that she just said right there. There is no such thing as a moral or ethical family vlogger. That is a very interesting statement. I'm kind of inclined to agree with that. That's a whole conversation in itself right there. Because it's kind of weird. And I was watching, so I don't like watch a lot of like other content, but I was watching some other streams last night, and I was just looking at some of the most popular streams. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. And I just clicked on like one of the most popular streams just to kind of see like what's up, like what are people like, you know, interested in. And it was a dude who probably a lot of y'all probably know. And he was sitting with his son, and he was streaming with his son who was probably like 1 year old. And he was like, it was very strange. It was very strange because he was trying to get his son to like participate in the stream. But you could clearly see, like, if you have kids, you know when like little kids are tired. Like little kids start to do this like this tired like whine, and they start like tossing and turning like when they're tired. And like you could clearly see that, but he's like propping the kid up. Yeah, you got it. He's like propping the kid up, like trying to like make him participate in the stream. And the whole chat is like, yo, go put your baby to sleep, bruh. But he's just standing there just propping the baby up. I'm just like, bro, this is weird. This is strange. And I think we're going to look back on it. We're going to look back on these times where, you know, so many of us just willingly put our children out on the internet and, you know, used our children as a means to accumulate a following and to essentially make money. And listen, I here's the crazy part. Like back in the day, like 10 years ago, when I was like doing like vlogs and stuff like that, I was trying to be on the same type of wave and stuff too, because I was inspired by people that I was watching 10 years ago. Like I was watching family vloggers and stuff like that. And I was like, you know what? Let me try it out. Let me see if I can do it. And I did it and I tried it. And like, I look back at those times of trying to do that, and I'm honestly, I regret very much doing that, because those are very vulnerable scenarios and very vulnerable moments to begin with. And then on top of that, you add kids into it. It's like, dog, it just gets really weird, especially to these strangers who you don't even really know at all. Especially you add to the fact that now you have all this technology. And I talked about a story. You have this AI technology that can essentially take a picture or a video of any kid that's posted and turn it into explicit content. That's literally happening. People are doing that. It's not, a conspiracy theory. Like, people are literally doing that. So that was a very interesting statement that she just made.
Say to Ruby if you had the chance.
Probably tell her I'm happy without you. Like, I was scared of her for so long, and I am pure without her approval, and I am just fine.
Have you forgiven Ruby?
Forgiveness is something I've had to study a lot and kind of think about what it means. But for me, forgiveness would look like not letting that consume every moment of my life and all of my thoughts. I am just trying to move on with my life and trust that things are going to work out the way they're supposed to.
She hasn't forgiven her, but I guess that's pretty natural, because we're humans. We hold grudges and things like that. But I know it's terrible. I can't even imagine what the kids went through and are still going through. I mean, you think about, like, they were abused by the person who you would think would be your ultimate protector, and that person betrays you and abuses you in the way that they did. That's already traumatic. And then on top of that, she's going to be in prison for the next, like, anywhere from 10 to 30 years. They haven't actually done the sentencing yet. So, I mean, that's traumatic as well. You know what I'm saying? So I get it, but man, you gotta forgive, because here's a controversial part, and here's the part that people don't like, but God has forgiveness, and God can forgive. So if God can forgive, then we need to forgive as well. It doesn't mean you forget. It doesn't mean you completely erase it from your memory, but you forgive for the sake of your heart, and you try to move on as best you can in faith, right? But the crazy part is, and this is just a crazy world that we live in, and I don't necessarily know if this is right or wrong, but you think about this story that took place, right? And now you think about the daughter who is writing a book monetizing the terrible and wicked thing that took place. And I'm not sitting here and saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it's just a very crazy world that we live in, and just a very interesting time that we live in. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I was in fact talking about DDG. So you were correct. You were correct.